just doing a sound check. Can everybody hear me?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Live from Silicon Valley, California. This is Success Sadhana. My name is JM, and I welcome you all to a program today where we'll discuss 3 relationship adjustments that will improve your life. With your speaker today, Vaish, a veteran Bhakti yogi, author, and former monk. Vaish is traveling today. He's currently in Atlanta, but he has been very kind enough to still join us and encourage us. He did dial in a few minutes ago, but maybe having some connectivity issues. He should be back soon. But meanwhile, everyone who's joined, thank you for joining. Thanks, Daniela, Jeff, Jen, Manish, Matongo, Mayang Otter AI, Naveen, Rajesh, Rashi, S, Ram A, Sam, Shweka, Vanessa, Vicky, Wolf, and Visam. Thanks everyone joining. How are you doing today? How has been the Friday so far? Anything? Yeah, go ahead, Rajesh.
Friday is good. Now we are at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we look forward to the weekend, I also look forward to this oasis where literally everything stops, all the whirlpool of mind stops for an hour, and I get some breathing and refreshment before I can go back to it. Thanks. Yeah, I do see a few more messages coming in. Vicky says, very happy to be here, multitasking, but listening. Thank you, Vicky. Thanks for including listening as one of your tasks as part of multitasking. Thank you. That's great. Anyone else would like to chime in? Or what were you looking forward to when you saw the topic today? Anything which was interesting? Go ahead, Rajesh.
Yeah, I think the topic is very, three relationship adjustment that, we are all looking to improve our life in whatever way we could. I think the wisdom which we always get from the today's, typically from Friday session is what motivates me to, make adjustment. And I'm really happy and excited to hear, how I can make a little tiny bit improvement in my life.
What is the topic again? Sorry, I didn't see that.
The topic is 3 relationship adjustment that will improve your life.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think everything revolves around relationship, isn't it? Like you can have everything else, but if you don't have a comforting, peaceful, loving relationship, at least with your close ones whom you can lean on, everything else doesn't matter. So yeah, even I am quite looking forward to how to fine tune relationship. Vaish, I think he's just trying to dial in. He did have some dial-in issues. So I've shared the link again. Hopefully, he should be joining in soon. Okay, so just a second. Okay, so I was just giving the passcode. Looks like some issue. This time he's able to join. Matango says it's a great day and glad to be here. Yes, it's spring is coming in, so it's neither very hot nor very cold. Right about present time. I did have my morning japa walk today and was feeling so nice today morning. So yes, that's absolutely right, Matango. Jenny, likewise to the above. Yep. Okay, I hope he joins soon.
He's here.
He's here, okay. Thanks, Vaish. Thank you for taking. He's here.
Now, this proves a point. You're more present by your sound than you are by your form.
Oh.
Thanks everybody for your patience. I'm on the road here. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm familiar with my surroundings at the moment. And it took a moment to get hooked up, as you could probably tell and relate to, I hope. Thank you very much for joining, everyone. Thanks, JM, for keeping the lights on. Great to see everyone today. Yeah, I got here last night. Flew from San Francisco to Georgia. The flight was a little late. We got in at midnight. And we're doing a weekend's long seminars here with some very, very lovely people in different locations around the city of Atlanta, which I haven't been to for a long time. And it's quite impressive what they've done here to the city. It looks great. People here are really fun. Met some really great people this morning. But this is my refuge to come back here, my base with all of you. I'm really happy to be here. Feel free today to express yourselves. If you have points you want to make, you can come off mute at any time and just raise your hand or just speak up and we'll let you in. Or you can use the chat box prolifically. Let's test it out now. See if you know how to use the chat box. Just say one thing you're grateful for in the chat box. Hey, Manish said I'm alive. I like that one. That's a very powerful meditation. And thank you all the ones for saying joining. I see Subhadra in Hawaii has the benefit of living in a tree, inside a banyan tree. Is her ashram there, and she's hearing the birds. That's nice. Good to hear, JM. Good to see you. I'm thinking of your gracious presence. Thank you. Same back to you. Yeah, I like the ones Mukta said, being here, being here today, your presence, family. So none of those were about my car or how much money I have in the bank. Just something so precious about being alive and recognizing that we are alive. And up at the top of the list of the actual things that make us happy are relationships. So the wisdom literatures talk a lot about this because they mentioned that we as conscious beings, sentient beings, we have senses, we have feelings, and we can love. In fact, it's one of the symptoms of life, according to the Vedic literatures, that we have this innate capacity to love. And it's not just human beings. We notice that the spiritual spark within any body has the tendency to love others. If you notice grizzly bears that are known for being especially ferocious, and most people in their right mind don't go very close to them, well, they love their children. And they love their lives too. They're careful not to put themselves in peril. If you go to any place where there's life, there's always some type of relationship and some kind of expression of love, even in the most simple way. So it's one of the most important aspects of our lives, and it's part of our lives that can be guided and improved. So I'm wondering if any of you have any relationships going on out there, and if you think, and if you do, if you have an idea that they can be improved in any way. Okay, some are shaking their heads. Yes. Nodding, I should say. Nodding, yes. Okay, good. That's good. Then you're in the right place. So let's look at the first slide. And just after we do that, I'm going to ask to see if anybody wants to introduce anybody new. Because if you've just joined for the first time, then we'd like to welcome you. That's Success Sadhana is the name of the program. So sadhana is a kind of practice. So can we practice in relationships? Absolutely. In fact, it's one of the best places to practice. In the ancient Vedas, there's a conception called grahastha ashrama. So the word shrama in Sanskrit means a place of toil, trouble, hard work for nothing. And when you put an A in front of it, it becomes ashrama. Some people call it ashram, things like that. The word actually means a place of shelter and a place of no shrama, no wasted endeavor. Everything used for learning a lesson and improving oneself. So in that, there are discussions and good guidance about how to take advantage of the lessons that we get through relationships. And I'll talk about 3 categories that are mentioned in the Vedas. They may, when I say these, seem so obvious that they're hiding in plain sight, but I'm calling it adjustments to relationships that will improve our lives. So that's what we're going to talk about today. On the right side, you'll see the little image of a smartphone. And what's on there is the Success Sadhana app, which includes a 21-day challenge. 21 days is enough to catch some momentum in your life, and it has many other features. But on the app, there's a discussion of body, mind, and spirit simple practices that you can employ, you can start doing that will lift your spirit, lift your health, and also give you spiritual insight. So that app is free, and it's both for Android and for iOS. So feel free to join us through the app also for keeping what we say, keeping the transcendental vibration going. It's essential because we may be constantly bombarded by other kinds of vibrations that bring us down, right? Okay, JM, now let's see. Is it appropriate to ask if anybody's joined for the first time and to welcome them?
Sure, right time. So if you are new for the first time, please feel free to unmute yourself and say hi, where you're dialing from, or you can type in chat box too, whatever works. Yeah, please, love to know if you're new. Oh, Rashmi says her first time.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Rashmi. I'm dialing in from the Bay Area, Sunnyvale, and I often go to ISKCON Mountain View, and I hear Vashishika Prabhuji. So it's nice to see you again, Prabhuji.
Thanks for joining here. Also, nice to have you here. It's a nice connection in the middle of the day on a Friday. Get ready for the weekend, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
nice.
the topic interested me thanks to someone who posted. I'm in Google, and someone posted on the Google Desi Club group. It's Poonam, and the topic caught my attention, and that's why I thought I should join.
Okay, now that really gets me going. Fantastic that you specifically wanted to hear this topic. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Darren? Yes, go ahead, JM. You handle this part.
Yeah, Darren, she just put in chat. Darren, go ahead, Darren, please.
Okay, yes, thank you. I've joined before, but it's been at least a year. So I'm glad to come back and join again. So thank you. I'm from Portland.
Thanks for coming back. Really glad to have you back again after a year.
Yeah,
Super.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Darren is dialing from Portland. So thank you, Darren. Thanks for dialing from all the way from Portland.
Excellent.
Anyone else for the first time? Okay. If not, please feel free to share with all your friends. Oh, Momita, go ahead, Momita.
I have been joining the other, events, but not this particular one. So nice to see the entire group here.
Great. Thanks, Momita. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thanks, Momita, for joining. And yeah, please feel free to share with your friends and families if they would benefit from these sessions, wisdom, and or come and join us and contribute their reflection and realization. We'll be very eager and happy to have them with us. So yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. And as I said, feel free to speak up as we go. And my role here is to bring forward to you things that have been passed on to me. I'm acting in the role of a delivery person, passing on things that have been vetted by many people greater than me, and also that I've found to be useful in my life and that come from what many consider to be authorized sources. So perhaps they'll be useful for you too. And we'll try to make some practical points. So before we go into this, let's just take a moment to exercise our right to observe who we are, where we are right now. We always have this opportunity. In fact, there was a book written by a person who was confined to a concentration camp for many years and survived remarkably. His story is written in a book. And he talks about how he realized in the position he was in when everything was taken from him, that the most valuable thing he had was himself, and being aware that he was alive. As many of you said, when you pointed out what you were most grateful for, that you're here, you're alive, and you can become aware of it. One of the most important points I've gleaned from the wisdom literatures like the Bhagavad Gita is that we're always alive. We may have our consciousness covered to one degree or another, but as sentient beings, it's not that we ever die. We only experience different environments. And the human form is quite remarkable because it affords us a much wider lens in which to take in wisdom and to see the world in context. That is, there's causality behind what's going on in my life. That's not readily available to everyone, at least not wide stretching or very insightful sense of causality. So let's take a moment to meditate. So let's sit up a little straighter than we were a few seconds ago. That sounds funny. I'm going to sit up a little straighter than I was a few seconds ago. Feel free to do the same if you wish. It does help because it brings your mind to attention. And then close your eyes and take a moment to breathe. And just notice your breath, which you may not have noticed a moment ago, but now you can feel free to just alertly notice your breath and let everything else fall to the side. And as you're breathing, relax. And now notice the power of your own awareness, that you're the one observing your breath. That means you're in a separate position. You're aloof. You can watch what's going on. As the observer in your body, you're called the Kshetragya, or the knower of the field. Your body is a field. You're not your body, but you're the observer of the body. To the degree that I identify myself with the body, to that degree, I feel the changes that the body goes through. See if you can notice thought energy going through your mind. As it floats by, just notice that it's like clouds, it's like energy going past you. And you're still the observer, you're still aloof. In an even more refined way, see if you can perceive your intelligence. Your intelligence is sometimes described as the voice of a wise parent speaking to you for your own good, warning you about what may be good for you or what might not be good for you. You can notice that it's coming to you as if through a channel. And you're still the observer, you're still aloof. And just be aware of your intelligence, your mind, your breath, and your body as the observer. And keep completely still and aloof and just watch and breathe. And now, as we're in this observant state of consciousness, we'll repeat a one-syllable mantra spelled O-M or A-U-M. On the exhalation, we'll utter the mantra behind muted mics, and then we'll take a deep breath in and do it again on the exhalation. We'll do 3 times. I'm just about to inhale. Om. 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 And just feel that you, as the conscious spark within the body, illuminate the whole body by consciousness. Your consciousness pervades your feet, your legs, all your extremities. And wherever you point your consciousness, you'll go. And where attention goes, energy flows. So now rub your hands together to bring some external sensation and open your eyes and come back into the room. And now let's look at a few slides regarding relationships. Was everyone able to make it back? You're all okay? Okay. Hope it was a good journey. So this is a very intuitive statement that's given in the Bhagavad Gita. In Sanskrit, vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini shunichaiva shapakecha pandita samadarshina. And what this is says that a person who has developed spiritual awareness notices not only him or herself as the Kshetragya that we just described, that you're the one that's witnessing your body, you're as if riding in a vehicle in the body. But you could also do the same, or you would also do the same in spiritual consciousness. And noting that other people aren't their bodies either. The body is an external feature. Body's animated by consciousness, the spiritual spark within. And so what this verse is saying is that a person who's in spiritual consciousness, who's aware of the truth, is equal, sees with equal vision various entities, living entities around him or her. A brahmana means like a highly refined spiritual person, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a homeless person. So that each person, doesn't matter what their social position is or whatever kind of body they have, it can be human or animal. Person's spiritual consciousness sees the same spiritual spark is animating the body. And therefore, such a person will have this sense of unity with others and not be repulsed by other people's bodies. This is a product of spiritual consciousness, that we feel compassion for others because we see that we're in, as they say, the same boat. And that the only thing that's different is just the external body, which is always changing anyway. So the body's not as significant as the spiritual spark within. So this is one of the starting points, of course, of our Constitution in America, which is that everyone's created equally. But what the wisdom literatures say is that equality is most noticeable or true when we refer to our Atma or our self. The body's not the self, the body's just changing. Body is like a river. You can never step in the same river twice, because it's always moving. And you can never you can never breathe in the same body twice, because it's constantly changing, just like a river. But we can notice that actually we're the spiritual spark within. And before I go to the next slide, I'd like to ask this august assembly why I would bring this up as a starting point for discussing relationships. And that is improving relationships. What about that concept do you think could be key or helpful?
Get out of ignorance and be in true knowledge and then act.
Okay, if you're kept out of knowledge and you're in knowledge and you're kept out of ignorance, then what?
Then act in any relationship.
Oh, then act. Right. Okay. Yes, I like that a lot. What a nice point that is. So first be situated in knowledge before you act, before you relate with people in a certain relationship. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Okay, very helpful. Let's see if there's a couple more. I have comments, but I want to hear what everyone has to say. Yes, we have Rajesh.
Yes, I was just thinking that in our all relationships, we discriminate, and there's a desire to have a strong relationship with certain people, and for certain we ignore, and that creates a lot of tension, problems, especially when we wanted to mend. But this statement which you showed, it actually set the stage that in a bigger picture, that if we are in a knowledge, we have a better understanding, then the lot of pain which we experience can be subdued. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, very, very helpful in understanding how important this is. Thank you very much, Rajesh. And we have Sana-san. Please correct me in pronouncing your name.
Sorry, it was my Intel username. I'm sorry. I feel like in relationships, we tend to seek perfection, and we expect other person also to think likewise. But I think we all should. I mean, the slide I have understood in a way that everybody is having some sort of knowledge, and we need to respect the person as they are. And it doesn't matter what their background is, or what person where they came from, but they all have the knowledge, and we need to maybe if possible enhance it, and just accept who they are, rather than seeking for perfection and constant discriminating. That's what I have understood.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so there's a sense that when we have this separate vision, that we see each person according to their body, and we're either attracted or repulsed, that this is a kind of wavering vision that's based on a kind of ignorance of the fact that what's animating the body is the same. It's the spiritual spark. We're just reacting to the external part. We do much better by seeing with eyes of unity. Okay, we have Shraddha.
I was just thinking that when we think about relationships, it's very myopic because we think of relationships with different persons. But this verse also tells us that being a universal being, as you were saying, we are sentient beings. We don't only have relationships with persons, but we have relationships with other living entities as well. So when we talk about relationships, we should broaden our horizon of looking at relationships, and not only think about having good relationships or developing our relationships with persons, but having relationships with everything around, every sentient being around us.
Thank you very much. Adding to this kind of universal vision, it's a concept in the ancient wisdom literatures about leadership, and the head of state would be responsible for taking care of what's called praja. So ja means to be born, and pra means anybody in the region. And it didn't mean just human beings, but everyone was considered to be important. Whoever had appeared there, whether it be animal, plant, tree, human, everyone should be regarded in the light of the fact that they all have this same common quality, that they're spiritual. JM, there's quite a few comments in the box, really
Yeah.
good ones.
They have been pouring in. Thanks everyone for please keep them coming. Mayank says it helps to understand who others really are, spiritual being. And Manish says genuine respect for others. Miles says setting a foundation of equality and an intention to understand and support others, as we want to be understood and supported, especially in times of difficulty or disagreement, or when one of us has made a mistake. Momita says, respect irrespective of birth, age, academic qualifications, social, financial status, and potential. Nirali says, taking animals equal is easy versus people around us are also so opinionated or strongly attached to their views. It's hard to say equal to them. It's hard to stay equal to them. Like politically bad motivated people and movement, I feel helpless to believe they are ignorant or equal. So being in the point of having different perspectives and still trying to rise above it. And Darren says, appreciate the common experience of moving through this life together. That is empathy and compassion.
Wow, such an outpouring of really good points. I'd like to address a couple of the subtleties. One of them is the ways in which we may mistreat others when we don't see their true nature. And a way that I've seen this take place quite frequently is on the freeways or roads of America. One of the reasons somebody may disrespect another person is because they don't know who they are. Do you want me to back up my thesis? Or should I just, yeah, okay. Let's just say that you're getting ready to turn right on a green light, but there's somebody in the crosswalk already, and the person behind you doesn't notice that the person's in the crosswalk, so they don't know that you're not supposed to turn right at that time, but they honk at you from behind. And then perhaps, like somebody, none of you, but somebody like me, might, have this sense like, oh, who do you think you are? I mean, in cases we've seen endlessly on social media, people get in fights. And one of the reasons is they don't know who's in the other car. If they were to have this vision, oh, there's somebody I can relate to actually as a spiritual being, they would give it a second thought. And I'll give you an example. Let's just say somebody honks at you really loud or cuts you off on the freeway in a very dangerous way, so much so that your the next few heartbeats are a little more intense. Do you think that's possible? Okay, so then as you're just about to think, or maybe even do something retaliatory, then you look in the car and you notice that it's your mom. Did that change anything? And they go, oh, mom, why'd you do that? Or if it happens to be like, your teacher from school or one of your best friends, it's a best friend that cut you off, then suddenly everything changes. The way you relate to them would change. You would wave rather than honk, and then it would be a matter that you'd perhaps even laugh about. And there's this sense of impersonality with people driving around in cars, you might notice. It's just a big, huge tin on wheels. And then there's the sense of danger and also propriety, that I'm in this lane, why are you in my lane, and so forth, because we don't know who it is. If you're sitting in a room and somebody you know or love bumps into you, you don't think anything of it. And so because we're unfamiliar with others, means that there's this opportunity to disrespect them or become angry at them. So what it says in the Upanishads, which is a very ancient literature, which means that this idea about relationships goes back a long time. It says that if someone has this spiritual vision, that is, they see each living being that they come in contact with, not just a human, but also other species, as a spiritual spark, part of the complete whole, then they never hate anyone. So now I want to answer just briefly on another part what this doesn't mean. It doesn't mean that just because everyone has a spiritual nature, and when we recognize that, we feel a sense of unity, compassion, empathy, and so forth. It doesn't mean on a practical level that we treat every single person in the exact same way. And why is that? Well, let me give you an example. Let's just say you're hiking in the hills of Oregon or California, and then as you were walking up the trail, you met a mountain lion. And then because in the name of treating the mountain lion equally, you thought, let me give him a high five. And so you went up and you tried to interact with him in that way. It's like, here, mountain lion. And that is foolhardy, because a wild mountain lion may not have the same vision as you do. Mountain lion may see you more as an opportunity for, depending on your size and weight, a light snack or a full meal. Whereas you may see the spiritual nature behind the being. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll interact with them in the same way that you would your mother, your father, a best friend, a teacher, or a child. So we have these two aspects to our life, to our lives. One is that we are spiritual beings that animate a material body, and others are spiritual beings animating their bodies, and we can see and respect that on a base level. The other side is we have practical ways that we have to maintain our physical bodies in this world and relationships and so forth. So those two things have to work in tandem. And that's a conundrum, because although we may say we're all equal, our relationships aren't equally, socially, familially, and so forth. So we have to work on both levels at the same time. And that's something that sometimes gets missed, because we just say it's all one or all the other, but it's both at the same time, according to the ancient wisdom literatures. Having said that, I see JM has a smile on his face, so I'm thinking he has something to report. So let's hear what you got, JM.
I saw a nice question come in, and I think it's a nice segue to our next few slides.
Okay.
The question is, how can you treat everyone with respect if they are rude or a mean person?
What a great question. And it also goes back to the question or the point that we saw a little earlier. Who made that point? Was it Nirali? Stay equal, opinionated. Yeah, right. So how do you deal with people? First of all, as I said, you're perfectly within bounds, and in fact, it's necessary to have a way to deal with people according to your external relationship. Even though you may respect them on an inner level, you still have to accommodate the external relationship. So that, as JM said, lends well as a segue to the next slides. So let's try to answer it in a couple of different ways that may be practical and helpful. One is that the way we see others is based on the three modalities of the world. These are called sometimes the three modes of nature. We see the world not the way it is, but the way we are. We see through the lens of our own minds. And our mind, according to the Bhagavad Gita, is affected by either sattva, rajas, or tamas. from left to right, left sattvic is the highest, it's the clearest. Rajasic means that we are a little constricted and confused, and tamasic means completely in the dark. So what we have here is for the sattvic seer, within each body is a permanent living force. When the body is destroyed, the living force continues. The rajasic seer is the body is the living being. When the body is destroyed, the living force is destroyed. And tamasic doesn't think of consciousness at all, works hard to maintain him or herself. That's it. Just work hard, do whatever feels good right now. There's no conception of how I got here, where I'm going, or how anybody else did either. Let's go to the next slide. So there's 3 levels that the Bhagavatam says we can relate to people on. First is if you meet somebody more competent than yourself. And if you've never met somebody more competent than yourself, then you need to do a self-diagnosis and see what's wrong. Because generally, when we're open for knowledge and learning and so forth, we'll be a little humble and we'll see some people are more competent than us. So there's one of the levels. I'm going to name 3 on which we can adjust relationships on a macro level. So is anybody here? I just want to see a show of hands to make sure I'm resonating. And that is, anybody here who's ever met somebody more competent than themselves? Okay, I'm getting a little love here. Everyone's saying yes. Not everyone, but enough, so we have a quorum. All right, great. Let's go to the next slide then. We've established we may meet people more competent than us. Okay. Next is those less competent. Now, I know everyone in here is very humble, but just speaking, about competency in the sense of you're able to do something better or more, or something more than other people for one reason or another. Have you ever met somebody who's less competent than you in some area? Or in general, you feel? Okay, only Manish. SG said yes. Getting a few more. Okay, the 3rd category is coming up for you now. Those who are equally competent. So what do we have here? 3 categories. One is more competent, one is less competent, those who are equally competent. So let's see if we get some answers in the next slide. Is there a next slide, or is it me commenting on these 3 categories? Yes, so the 3 levels. This was given in a teaching by a great sage named Narada many, many years ago. And it's been echoed over time. That generally, when we meet somebody more competent than ourselves, one of the reactions can be envy. Somebody knows more, is more expert at something, and then I feel like, oh, why is that person? And what happens is, when I become envious of somebody's competency, then it's not available to me. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, try to find people more competent than yourself in a certain area, especially spiritual wisdom and lifestyle, and then go there in a humble mood and try to learn. But opposite frequently happens is that I block my ability to take on the qualities or the lessons from a more competent person because I think, all right, well, they may be competent, but they're probably cheating, or maybe I'll catch up to them soon anyway, so I don't need to learn anything from them. So Narada says, the sage, don't do that. Fully embrace the fact that somebody is more competent than you when you meet them. If you see competency in somebody, don't get envious. It blocks your ability to learn, but rather show respect. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it mentions that you should go there with a sense of, I have something to learn from this person. And then also you should ask questions, and you should also try to do something for that person. Because when you do a little selfless service for someone, then the heart of that person will open to you, and the contents within that person's heart will flow out to you. And this is something you can experience if you've ever approached a teacher and then you thought like, well, I really admire the qualities. You go there in a humble state of mind, and then you offer some service and you ask a question. Then that teacher in any sphere will be very open to pouring out his or her heart to you and give you all they've learned. I had a teacher once that was in music, and I had great respect for the person, and I remember sitting in front of him one day when I was learning something and just really appreciating him. And then it almost felt like I was, what's that called when you take your smartphone and then it connects, like let's say of an iPhone and it connects to your Mac. What's that? What?
Hotspot?
What?
No. I mean, that is what a thing. I'm talking when you're loading information.
Download? No. Tether?
That was a special word for it. In any case.
AirDrop.
AirDrop.
Yeah, thanks. Who said AirDrop?
Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse. 50
No
points
problem.
for you.
I don't even have
It's
an
like an
answer.
AirDrop. I mean, I'm sitting across from the person, but I'm feeling what I was experiencing was this person has sat with a lot of teachers, and this person took in a lot of lessons, and this person did a lot of austerity to learn what he learned in music. And now by sitting there in a humble way and just being open to the fact that he's so much more competent than me and asking a few questions, then it's being airdropped. All of his experience, all the teachers he's met, I'm getting the same thing. So this is the benefit of being humble, which is you meet somebody more competent, be really respectful and open, because then the relationship works, and the knowledge, the good qualities, and also become part of you. That's something Voltaire once said. He said that when you appreciate the good qualities in another, they become yours. Think of the opposite. Even one tiny little drop of envy, when you meet somebody more confident, and then it blocks everything. You can't take it. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is when somebody is less competent than you, Narada says, be a friend. Try to help that person, not in a condescending way, but in a compassionate way. Notice where they might have a gap, and in the most appropriate way possible, try to help them. Reach out, give them what they need to also rise. And then for those who are equal, make friends. So as I gave a disclaimer in the beginning, these sound so commonsensical, but they can be easily overlooked. And if you notice your relationships when you meet people and just try to assess, how should I relate to this person? And you've identified that kind of relationship you have with a person, competent, same, equal, or the person's less competent, and you act accordingly. For the person who's less competent, it's called kripa, or try to give that person something that you've been given, try to pass it along. And equal, be friends. Don't try to outshine your friends and be envious of them either. And most competent person, become a student. There's no harm in it. Yes, JM.
So there was one, I think it's related to maybe one of those items where those who are maybe rude to us or mean to us or like how to relate to
Right.
them.
Okay. So I'm going to give you some advice I read in a book that harmonizes with what it also says in the ancient wisdom literatures. And the book was called How to Win an Argument. It was by a professor of rhetoric from New York University. A really good book. And then he talks about one section, he says, how to deal with a fanatic. And the next sentence he has in capital letters, don't. So for people, for people who are intractably unapproachable, or they have a disposition towards hating others, they have opinions that are so against yours that you find it objectionable just to be around them and so forth. What the Srimad Bhagavatam says, along with our professor from New York University, is feel free not to engage. So he gives this admonition in Sanskrit. It says, Ishvare tadadineshu balisheshu dusatsucha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti samadhyamaha. He says that when you find somebody that is against you and trying to counteract your very existence in various ways, then be a upeksha, which means create a little distance between you and that person. And this goes to the practical aspect I was talking about. If you meet a mountain lion, I mean, it's really not the mountain lion's fault that he sees you as a snack, but it's your business, it's your duty to not engage with him unless you're a mountain lion whisperer. So that goes for people too. If they have a mountain lion-like temperament, and I don't mean to be biased against mountain lions because maybe they're perfectly nice creatures. I've never met one personally. I've heard about others who didn't have great encounters. If you meet other people like that, be upeksha, be a little bit aloof and indifferent. And if you have to work with them, the Bhagavatam says, it talks about all these details. It says if you're in an official position, you have to work with somebody whose nature you find to be odious, very highly disagreeable. Then it says, be official. You say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, thank you very much, yes, no. Do your duty, but don't get entangled more than you have to. Don't become overly attached or detached from the person, just do your duty and do what you have to do. So that's relationship advice. It's given in the ancient Vedas. The difference we have is that we're different spiritual sparks, although we're the same nature. Externally, however, we're in all different circumstances. Our bodies are very different, and it takes a lot of work to come together. So these categories actually help us to identify what person am I working with right now? What should be my response to the way I relate to them? Jim, was there another pressing thing? Because I have a couple very specific things to say. Go ahead.
Okay, there are a few variations maybe. One is, what if the other person happens to be your husband or wife or friend?
Well, then you're really in luck, because your mate is your mirror, your chance to see yourself and grow. When you have a husband, wife, significant other, somebody who you're with all the time, that you've actually made vows, I'm going to stay with you no matter what. That you're in an ideal situation, ideal in the sense that the universe is a classroom. And actually, we just talked about this recently because I just finished a book. It's just the last parts of it are being finished. There's some artists doing some drawings for it. And once those are done, I'm going to, if everything goes the way it should, have it published. But we're talking about this point about, what was I just saying? And now I forgot the point.
Friends, like wife, they are your...
Yeah, your mate is your mirror. And so when you're in that situation and you see the world as an opportunity to grow, not to become comfortable, but to grow. And when you feel comfort in the fact that you're making growth, you're growing, then you're living in reality, because that's what the world was made for our improvement. Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead. Last few points you wanted to make.
Yes, about being a mountain lion whisperer. Anything's possible. I have a friend, used to be a business associate, who's really expert with animals, and I couldn't believe the kind of things she could do talking to animals. Anyway, this is a relationship tip that works everywhere, always, and in all circumstances, because I want to leave you with something that you can use immediately. The other things I think you can also, but this is something that you can use the second you turn off your camera right now in a few minutes. And that is the quality of attention we give to any other person or entity that we're in a relationship with determines the quality of the relationship. And it's up to us to give quality attention. It works with plants, I can tell you that. If you just pot a plant, you walk away and you never come back, the chances of it surviving are very slim. With people, they need attention. And when you resign yourself, or when you determine that this is what I'm going to do, when I'm talking to somebody, for instance, I face them squarely, I listen completely. I'm not half listening. I'm not looking at something else. I'm not thinking of something else. I'm totally listening what they have to say. It is miraculous, because you're miraculous. As a conscious entity, the power of your consciousness is inestimable. And when you give that consciousness to others, that's really the root of love. When you give quality attention to another person. And you can test it out as soon as you get off here. Try talking to somebody that you're used to talking to and that you perhaps only give partial attention to, because you think, oh, they'll be here tomorrow anyway, so what's the difference if I pay attention to them? In other words, I take them for granted. But you give them your 100% attention and just watch and see what happens. I guarantee you that they will respond in a way that is you've never seen before. And then you'll realize, oh, I wasn't giving full attention, I was giving partial attention. Move your chair, right? Yes, please go ahead. And they'll be shocked. They're like, what are you doing? So I'm paying attention to you. It's like, you've never done that before. Nobody ever does that. Who does that? Everyone moves from one thing to the next. I'm talking to somebody, but I'm thinking about doing something else. They're telling me something and I'm not even listening, because I'm thinking, I'm going to say something better as soon as they stop talking. But if you just become that aloof person that's not engaged in the ego, that I have to be right, I have to be somewhere else to get ahead, and you just respect the person in that moment and give them your attention, you'll see that that's the root of the relationship. It's the water on the plant. It makes everything bloom. JM's got something else. He's smiling. Go ahead.
No, just smiling about the point you made.
Okay. Yeah, it's something that's so within our power to do, but I don't use it. We don't know how powerful we are. That's the problem. I think I'm my body, I'm my changing mind, but actually I'm a spiritual spark. And that spiritual spark is the most amazing thing in the universe. And when you extend yourself to somebody else, attention means to extend yourself to somebody else, then all the magic happens in the relationship. And there's lots of ways that you can do that. Those are called loving exchanges. Well, I went over time by a minute. I'm sorry it took me so long to get on today. I thought I had it perfectly lined up, and then, as technology goes for me, oftentimes it didn't work the way I thought, so I was a little late. But there are some people I know that are very much on time. They live in the Himalayas, and they live in caves. They're very sensitive to the light outside, and they know what time it is just by the light coming in their cave. They come out at certain times from their meditations, and when they see other yogis on the high peaks of the Himalayas where they're situated. They have a way of greeting each other that Lakshmanji just put up. It's a statement, it goes Hari Bol, and it means keep the transcendental vibration going. So it just occurred to me, we're in a little cave-like situation here. If you look at all of us that are present, or those who aren't, we can't see the picture, but it looks like they're in a dark cave. Let's try it. What do you think?
Haribol.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you next week.